Welcome to our PHP web course. In this video, we will continue with our blog application. So far, we have created the database called My Blog in PHP We have created the table, and the table has some entries in it because we have been inserting them from the HTML form. So we first created the HTML form, and when the user clicked Submit, the values were sent to a PHP page. That page opened a connection to the database, executed some SQL code. That code inserted those values into the database, and the user was also given a message. So if I were to fill in the form and click Submit, I see a message that the record was successfully entered. I see a message to the user, and there is also a link to see the blog entry. When we click that link, we see all of the blog posts, beginning with the most recently entered. On this page, we also made a connection to the database, executed some SQL code, and that code retrieved all of the records that were currently in that database table and displayed them on the web page. If we go back into PHP and refresh the page, we can see the latest post. We will add to what we've already created by adding a login page. The user will now have to log in order to post to the blog or to view the blog. Because we are not actually storing usernames and passwords in any file or database, we will use a standard username and password that can be easily checked. For our purposes, the username will be username and the password will be password, as I have indicated using the HTML placeholder. If the user does not enter the correct login and password, you will give them an error message and tell them to go back and log in. If they enter the correct username and password, they will be shown the content on the page. This is a PHP file. Notice I have a test message merely to check my code. We are also going to set a cookie value on this page. That cookie value will be checked before the user can enter a blog post or view the blog post. So once they log in, we set a cookie and we display some information. They have three choices. They can create a post, they can view a post, and they can log out. The Create a Post page has already been created. The View All Posts page has already been created. You will create the logout page. So if the user clicks Create a Post, they will go to the blog post page. If they click View All Posts, they will go to the page that shows all of the posts. We will look at the logout page later. You are given the HTML form, which is a static HTML file. The action will be login.php and the method will be post. You will create the login.php page. All of the code will be placed on top of the doc type. The first thing we will do is to make sure that this page was called from the form using the $_server request method. The next thing we will do is to retrieve the form values and store them in the variable. There are only two form values. The next thing we will do, we will check to make sure that the username and password are valid. Notice because we have set values, I am comparing the variable $username to the string username, and I am comparing the variable $password to the string password. If those values are okay, then we will set a cookie. If those values are not okay, we will use the PHP exit function. The exit function does two things. It will send a message to the user, and it will stop any more execution on the script. We do not want the user to see any more of the page at this point. All we want them to do is to go back and log in correctly. Notice I have a test echo statement for myself to verify the username and password. I also have a test echo statement for myself to verify the cookie value. I am using the setCookie method, and I am using login_OK as the name of the cookie and yes as the value. You can use whatever name and value you want. I am setting the expiration on this cookie to 1 hour ahead. We will now create the logout page. We have already looked at the login page, and I have my username and password entered. Now when I click login, notice I am receiving an error message. It has to do with the cookie value. When you set a cookie and read a cookie on the same page, which is what we are doing, that cookie has not been updated yet. So you need to refresh the page, and now you will see that the cookie indeed has been set. So when they log in, they will be going to this page where they have an option to create a post, to view the posts, and to log out. So we are looking at creating the logout page now. I will click this button. It tells me I am now logged out. If I go back to my directory structure and click on logout.php, it will tell me I am not logged in. So this page has to first determine if the user is indeed logged in. If they are logged in, it will log them out. If they're not logged in, it will tell them you're not logged in. So let's look at our PHP code. The first thing we're doing is we are initializing a variable where we will be displaying the message to the user. That message to the user will be displayed in the body. Now we have an if condition to determine whether the user is logged in or not. We use the isSet function to determine if this cookie has a value. If the cookie has a value, it means the user is logged in. So if it has a value, the statement inside the if condition will return true. And in that case, we will use the setCookie method with the expiration set to 1 hour in the past to expire that cookie. We will then set the variable MSG to the message "you are now logged out." Else, meaning the user was never logged in, we will give the user the message that they are not logged in.